Let's say hello to Andrew O'Connell from
Hey, Andrew.
at Real Pristine Cap, trading champion last year in the U.S. Trading Championship. Andrew, how are you? Good to have you back.
Dale, my trading warrior brother, how are you? I'm doing great.
Good, good, man. Last time we talked, you were long Uber before it got real popular. I said I think it could trade into the low 90s for a third drive, and that's where we are. What are you doing with Uber now?
Yeah, if you take a look at Uber, it's actually back on my watch list for potentially another trade. And if you'd like, I can share my screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me see. Let me go ahead and share. I'm gonna share screen one. Let me know when you can see that.
Okay. You have a good second quarter?
Yeah, so far so good.
Good.
Yeah, we'll
All
see
right.
what
So there
happens.
it is. You remember me talking about 92?
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are
Yeah,
some
so
divergences here, but
so
yeah.
if we look at Uber, what I think is just excellent about this chart right now is if you zoom out to the weekly. So if you look on the weekly over here, this shaded area, this is the yearly value area. So this is where most of the trading in 2024 happened. And if
Yeah.
you look, we're trading above that yearly value area.
Right.
This orange line, that's an anchored VWAP from when we hit the lows a few months ago. And as you can see, we are breaking out into new high ground on that weekly structure. And then
Yeah.
if you look to the daily chart, the daily structure also looks really good because you can see we're consolidating right around those new highs. And
Yeah.
now the price action is really tightening. And this is a good spot where you could potentially take a pretty low risk entry in the stock. So this is definitely one into today's session
What's
that
going
I'm
to
really
be
watching.
what's going to be a trigger for you when you have something on the watch list? What are you looking for to be compelling for you to re-enter?
Yeah, for this particular setup, all that I'm looking for, I think this setup is pretty much primed right here, is
Yeah.
really just an open above Friday's close or Thursday's close.
Okay. That could
Yeah, because
happen
with
today.
exactly. Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you look at this if you look at this setup, we can actually define it right here with one of the indicators on my chart. So if you
Yeah.
were to enter the stock right above the prior close at let's say 93.92, looks like it's
Yeah.
going to gap up to around 93.50, but you can set a stop about 5% away and that's going to be below all of these consolidation candles. And then your R2 would be around $103.31. So for
That's
me,
what a
that's
lot
a
of
really
people are
good
looking
reward to
for.
risk trade.
Yeah. Okay. What else are you looking at? I mean, the market's at new all-time highs, so I'm sure you were long a bunch of stuff besides Uber over uh, the
Yeah,
last
let's
three
take a
months
look.
since we've talked.
Yeah, if you take a look, the S&P 500 trading up to new highs at
Yeah.
this particular moment, in this particular point in time, I do think that the S&P 500 is pretty extended. And the one indication that I have of that on my chart is I always track the distance from the 50-day simple moving average, which is my blue line on my chart.
Yeah.
And I track the ATR extensions away from that 50-day simple moving average. Right now on this MAX, which is where I track it, we're at a 6.3 extension. And that pretty much just means compared to the historical range, we are pretty extended at the headline index level. So for me, I'm trying to be a little bit cautious here, just because I do believe there's that chance, especially with that big, beautiful bill having just passed, that we
Yeah.
could get some sort of a pullback in the market. And
Okay.
like we're seeing, for
Driven
example,
driven by higher interest rates or tariff news, or because rates kind of turned a little bit last week,
yeah,
back
and
to the
they're
upside.
yeah, and they're still turning. So if we
Yeah.
look, yeah, let's go to the treasuries. Yeah, let's take a look here. If we go to
Because
the 10-year futures.
because the consensus is lower rates are coming, and I'm thinking, could there be one more spike in rates before that happens?
Yeah, and I mean, with the big beautiful bill having just passed, that is going to blow out the deficit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we can see that the 10-year treasury futures, they're responding in kind. And now they're falling back inside of that monthly value area.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. They've been range bound for the last few months while things have been working their way through the system. We have another inflation report that's going to be coming out next week. If that actually ticks to the upside, which I think it's going to, then yeah, we could see all these interest rates start moving up and these treasury futures would be moving to the downside. So when you have that kind of setup, and then as we mentioned earlier, the S&P 500 is extended away from its moving averages, that's where like all it takes is like any sort of little spark, and you can get that little pullback in the market, perhaps that 20-day simple moving average. And that's where I would be interested in getting a little bit more aggressive in the market.
Okay. A little bit of a reversion to the mean. You're not looking for your 50-day to be tagged, are you?
Not really. Yeah, just looking
Okay.
for a little bit of mean reversion and potentially some of these weak hands that are buying stocks like, on Thursday, on Wednesday, when pretty much they had like 2 full months of an opportunity to buy stocks. I think these guys that are playing around up here, these are probably some of the weakest hands in the market. So I think it just makes a lot of sense that these guys would end up getting flushed out on those positions if you get some sort of retest of the 20-day simple moving average. That's kind of what I'm looking at on the macro front. And I really believe the technicals drive almost everything. And the
Yeah.
market just kind of looks for little headlines or little pieces of news that can potentially trigger those pullbacks to the key moving averages.
Okay. Um, Individual issues. What are you doing with Mag 7 stocks? Anything? They've
Yeah,
been,
Mag.
it's like nothing's changed, Andrew. It's the same
Yeah.
leadership that we had before the tariff convulsions. I thought there would be some new leadership. It looks like Russell is trying to gain an edge. It looked like that started to happen, but we've had so many false starts with that. Where are you at? Are large cap tech still going to be the generals uh, during this whole march up to 7,000 in the S and
Yeah.
P's?
So I think Nvidia is the most important stock in the market, probably Nvidia and then Microsoft.
Yeah,
And until these start turning to the downside, like if Nvidia is making new highs, you just can't be bearish on the market. That's really my stance
hmm,
because this is sort of the ringleader AI stock. But as you
yeah,
can see, Nvidia is pretty far away from that monthly value area. It's pretty far away from that 50-day simple moving average. So from a reward to risk standpoint, a lot of these Mag 7 stocks, they're going to start reporting earnings pretty soon. Nvidia is one of the later uh, reporters in 51 days. Well, let's see. If we look at Apple, yeah, that's coming up in about 3 weeks. So, yeah, a lot of these stocks, Google has had a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, Google to me looks the best from just a pure technical standpoint into earnings because you can see we're trading very close to that monthly value area high. So
yeah,
you can take a good reward to risk entry in this stock. But to be honest, like I just don't see much alpha at the headline index level or within these individual names until these stocks report earnings. The one theme, and I've mentioned this theme on your show several times, is this cannabis theme. These stocks, they've been in an absolute bear market for about the last 4 years.
yeah,
If you look at my chart, I have this annotated. We're going to have a new head of the DEA, and the
yeah,
DEA is really the in charge of the cannabis rescheduling process. Terry Cole is going to be coming in as the DEA. He just hasn't been confirmed yet. But Terry Cole has stated that one of his first priorities when he gets confirmed is addressing cannabis rescheduling and the delay in that process. So I believe now that the big, beautiful bill is out of the way, I believe we're going to see Terry Cole get confirmed within the next month or two. And I think when that happens, we're going to enter a bull market in these cannabis stocks. So right now, MSOS is trading right above this monthly value area. The chart looks absolutely terrible if you zoom out.
yeah.
But I believe for me, I'm always looking for asymmetry in the market. I'm not the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to buy Nvidia after it's up 300%. That's not my style at all. I believe if Terry Cole gets confirmed and there's some movement on rescheduling, I really believe that this MSOS ETF within the next year could move up 100% very easily. It's actually done
Oh
that
yeah,
several times over the past couple of years. So
yeah.
this right now for the US Investing Championship, this is my biggest position. If it doesn't work, I'll be sure to stop out, but we have a clear catalyst that should be coming in the next month or two. So in terms of asymmetry and what I'm looking at in the market, this, as far as I can tell, is the most asymmetric
So
opportunity.
okay, so you're getting this bounce, I think, based upon it, because I've heard the story too.
Hmm.
Could it turn out to be a buy the rumor, sell the fact once he's confirmed? But it still could, squeeze shorts. There's a lot of shorts in there, especially these. Is MSOS American producers or Canadian?
American. Yeah,
Okay,
so that's a great question, Dale. So I think if this was just rumors and nothing behind the rumors, then
yeah,
yeah, maybe you get a little pop. And then, as it's always done, over the last
but
4 years, there's always a little pop and then it just sells
yeah,
right back off. But I
but the
believe that there's,
rescheduling is huge for this. They can bank, they could write things off. It because I know guys that have been riding them into the dust, and that's their hope.
yeah,
And most people don't think he's going to um, change it because he was anti marijuana prior.
hmm,
So you think he's going to, even though his personal views, is there an edge for the U.S. government to be collecting revenue on these stocks? I know they already get taxes. Will it include uh, more taxes or more revenue for the U.S. government if they do this?
absolutely more revenue for the US government. And then also driving out the cartels,
Okay.
driving out illegal product and really just
Yeah.
cleaning up, saving money on jailing people for cannabis, which is completely
Yeah.
silly. The
Yeah.
reason why I believe this is actually going to happen is if you look at the team around Trump, Trump prior to being elected literally said, on Twitter or Truth Social, I believe there should be banking for these cannabis companies. We should
Yeah.
leave it up to the states and it should be rescheduled. That's clearly on the record, him saying that. And then if
Yeah.
you look at who he has, it's RFK Jr.,
Right.
who has clearly
He,
stated on the record that he is
yeah,
pro
he has
cannabis.
and he keeps a bong on his desk, doesn't he?
Probably. I wouldn't be shocked. He probably keeps a bong and some magical mushrooms on his desk as well. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So that's what I was thinking. Hey, RFK Jr., don't drink the bong water. Anyway,
Exactly.
uh, okay, that's really interesting because I've been in and out of them a few times down here because I see something technical. I actually think that the technicals are shaping up pretty good. So,
Yeah, so
um,
for context, this is kind of what I'm looking at. So over here, we had 4 years of the Biden administration. They promised they were going to do something on
right,
cannabis, and then they never did. And
Schumer
that's
dropped
why,
the ball.
yeah, and that's why for everyone that's been in these and kind of stuck in them, if you say something's going to happen, they're all like, "Oh, no way!" Like I've been believing that for years, and it's not going to happen.
Right, right.
If you
They
look at
are
where,
despondent. Right.
yes, if you're looking at where MSOS was trading prior to Trump's election, look at this
Oh,
gap lower on the chart. Let me just remove
yeah.
this moving average. This is when Trump won the presidency. And the
Wow.
reason why this has been in a, like a tailspin is because people said, you know what, the Democrats lost, Trump won.
It'll never
Nothing is
happen.
going to happen. It will never happen. So we got this capitulatory just slide down. If something does end up happening, if Terry Cole gets confirmed in the next month or two and cannabis does get rescheduled, why can't we get back to where this thing was prior to Trump being elected at
Yeah.
685? If you look at
Yeah.
where it's currently trading at 242, that would be almost a triple on the
Yeah.
investment. So that's
Yeah.
why from these levels, I think the risk reward is just so compelling. The worst case scenario is you lose 100% of your money. This thing just goes completely defunct, which it's not going to because the biggest holding, about 30% of it, is Green Thumb. And Green Thumb is a profitable company. You can see they earned 4 cents of EPS in their last quarter. So I really just think, the chances of that are very slim. But let's say if it does, your your downside is 100% of your capital, and your upside is potentially a 100% return, 200% return, 300% return. So that's why I think it's the most compelling opportunity in the market right now.
What was that again? GTIBF?
Yeah, GTBIF. Yeah, this is
Okay.
Green Thumb, and this is by far the most fundamentally sound company. You can see on my chart, they've had positive EPS for the last,
Yeah.
5 quarters straight.
Very few do. Like a company like Cureleaf, they
Yeah,
have
let me see.
tons of debt, right?
Yeah, a lot of these companies, they are laden with debt. So if we look at Curaleaf, I believe this might be like a 6% holding in the MSOS. Yeah, this one negative EPS. Their cash flow from operations is positive though. So yeah,
Okay.
really what these companies need is just some relief. If we look at TrueLeave, TrueLeave is the second largest holding in MSOS. TrueLeave also has really good cash flow from operations. If we get that cannabis rescheduling and we get some improvement on banking, these companies will actually be able to take deductions on all their business expenses. And yeah, that should be a very positive thing. So yeah, for me, the space is bottomed out. If you look at TrueLeave, they trade at 0.56 times sales. GTBIF
Yeah.
trades at about 1 time sales. And this is a growing industry. So that's why for me, like most people will be like, oh man, this guy is crazy talking about these stocks. The chart is going down. But for
Yeah.
me, I'm looking for the asymmetry. As soon as the chart starts going up, that's when a lot of people will jump aboard this
Yeah.
trend. So that's
Okay.
really what
So
I'm playing for.
Forex Gal is saying many, many zombie companies. I'm sure there are. But that's why you have to do your due diligence, and you don't win trading championships by just throwing a dart at a company because it's in that industry. So
Yeah. So if
if
we look, I marked this up on the chart. There's this right here was a 100% spike in MSOS. This happened
yeah,
in September of 2023. This was a 121% spike in MSOS. And this was no reform happened here. These were just technical bounces. If
yeah,
some reform happens, it could be something a little different. So, yeah, this is really just where I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And, this is what I'm focused on right now. And then the good thing, too, is if Terry Cole gets confirmed and the ETF doesn't move, the underlying stocks don't move, he doesn't do anything on reform, then you have an out on your position where, hey, the catalyst came, it went, and nothing happened. So I
you
take
get
my
out.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, Andrew, another great presentation of a contrarian idea. So,
Hmm.
anything else you want to add to what you've told us? Because I like this idea.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, over the last like 2 years on your program, usually I was talking about Alibaba
Yeah, it looks
and
ugly.
Alibaba, over here it was kind of like the same deal. This thing was trading in the 60s for so long, trading in the 70s, trading down here. And I remember being on your show just chatting about how hey, there's opportunity here. And this thing, it's nowhere near its highs right now. But even after taking a huge drawdown from the highs a couple of years ago, this thing was in the 60s. Now it's at 107. This is no
Yeah,
longer a big focus for me. I don't really see a lot of asymmetry. Now my
yeah.
focus is really okay, let's try this cannabis trade and see what happens there.
Okay.
So we'll
Um,
see.
best way for people to follow you and stay in touch with you.
Yeah, you can go to pristinecapital.net and I put out an evening research report and you can check out the reports and yeah, all the thoughts I have on the market and really just my preparation for the upcoming trading session.
Okay. Send me one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Okay. Andrew O'Connell, everybody, giving you a contrarian idea that no one wants to touch, kind of like no one wants to buy the dollar. So,
Hmm.
similar things. And, you know, uh, he's a champ. So, my trading warrior brother, thanks for the ideas and what you're doing and your narratives and your technical reasons. Really excellent. And appreciate you coming here and edifying our community, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me on. Always a pleasure, man. Take care.
Okay, Andrew. We'll talk in the fall
Talk soon.
after cannabis stocks triple. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Uh, Andrew O'Connell, everyone. Check him out at Real Pristine Capital on X and get involved with him. Track him. I think this was a great interview. There's some we don't talk cannabis stocks in here. So anyway, have a great day. You could join the team in about 18 minutes. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.